And hi there. Welcome back for another episode. Welcome back for another episode of Gears of Trust. My name is Maynard and I'm your host for Gears of Trust. And today I'm going to be talking to a newfound friend, Lucinda Landry from Costa Rica, who formerly used to be right from Fort McMurray. Those who know me personally in my day-to-day exchange, I speak of dreams of Costa Rica. Considering political turmoil here in Canada, and I don't have a lot of faith in the Canadian government, Costa Rica, through some quick investigating, seemed like a really good destination if one's going to be leaving the country on a permanent basis or becoming an expat. So the best way, in my opinion, to go down that road is someone who has gone down that road to tell me exactly what to do. I got dogs bugging me already at the start of this podcast. Isn't that wonderful? So
I got two of them running around me too.
Oh, do you? Yeah, I got two. I got a little Shih Tzu and a Bichon, right? So, yeah, high maintenance, just like this. Amazing. So, yeah, the really cool thing about Costa Rica to me was a tax reporting and stuff like this. My world's changing from a mechanic in the oil sands to a digital nomad, which I think I'm going to pop some questions in on Lucinda about that she had touched briefly on previous conversations. That being said, the first Canadian expatriate that I have ever met, known, living in Costa Rica is Lucinda. And I'm going to start the episode off with her telling us about herself. So, Lucinda, please take it away.
Well, I mean, we don't want to get into too much, but I was born and raised in Nova Scotia and spent the last 25 years or so in Fort McMurray. Lived there with my late husband who passed away in 22. And my late husband and I talked about moving to Costa Rica many times, although he was not as excited about the idea as I was because he loved snow. He loved hockey, he loved skating, he loved snow, and I couldn't get him to consider that. And shortly after he passed, I kind of realized that waiting for retirement, waiting for later, waiting for another day just wasn't guaranteed. And so that's what I did.
Oh, so you made that was the motivating factor, right?
Yeah, my motivating factor was time is limited. And my late husband and I always said, when the last kid graduates school, we'll do this. When the last kid graduates school, we'll do this. When I'm ready to retire, we'll do this. And he never made it that far.
Wow.
And so I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. That's fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. Yeah, there's no guarantee on anything.
No.
I'll tell you right now, I'm guilty of that, saying as soon as we get this done, as soon as we get that done, as soon as we get this done.
Yeah.
We all fall into that trap. So I guess kudos to you for getting your ass going and getting down there, getting things happening. So yeah. I guess like Costa Rica, why would you pick Costa Rica? Why not Nicaragua? Why not Mexico? Why not all the regular stuff? What drove you to Costa Rica?
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned politics in your introduction as your motivating factor. And the very first time I started researching what country I wanted to move to was in late 2015, early 2016, just before the fires and just after Trudeau got himself elected the first time.
Wow.
And that's when I decided that I needed to find another country to live in. And I started researching countries. And at that time, all you needed to do to move to Costa Rica was have $40,000 US in your bank account, and you were allowed to apply to be a citizen here.
Oh, that easy.
It was that easy then. Not anymore, but that was the requiring factor then. And I spent days trying to convince, on a regular basis, bringing up Costa Rica and sunny weather and beaches, and we could have a house down here for $15,000. Like it was dream, but like I said, my husband kept saying later. And he didn't make it. So I just decided I don't care what the cost is. This is where I'm going. But at my time of research, Costa Rica was the most politically stable, the most affordable, and the most close to a beach for me. And I mean, look at that weather. Come on.
Yeah.
It's
so you're not So this is mid-February in Canada. So you're telling me it's not minus 30 there; it's plus 30. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, we're plus 32. Yeah, we're plus 32 today. It was plus 35 yesterday. I thought I was going to die. It was very hot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not Canadian weather by any stretch of the imagination, eh?
No, no. And the
So
weather here is like this. It hangs around 30 degrees. I mean, we got a warning on our phone. I was actually talking to my daughter, who's still in Alberta. And about 2 weeks ago, I got a weather alert on my phone. I mean, we all get them. You've got smartphones, and when the weather changes drastically, you get an alert. Well, here in Coco, I got an alert that said froye, which basically means it's going to be freaking cold, because that night the weather was going to drop to 28 degrees and the locals were panicking.
really? No way.
Yep.
28
I got a
degrees
weather
over.
alert. It was going to be 28 degrees. Yep.
Oh
And they were all freaking out and freezing.
wow.
Yeah.
that's I guess that's kind of weird, eh? Right? That's so. You've been there 2 years. Are you starting to adjust to the temperatures or what?
Oh, I'm completely adjusted to the temperatures here. It's been just about 3 years I've been coming here, actually. And
Wow.
I had to go back to Canada. Part of that, how long can you stay question that I'm sure you're going to ask later. Right now, I'm still here on a visitor visa, which means every 6 months I have to leave the country for a day or two and come back. So I had to leave actually the very February 1st. I was back in Calgary for three
Calgary.
days. And if you remember yeah, if you remember the weather in Calgary on February 1st, it was the coldest week ever. and I was coming from Costa Rica to Calgary for 3 days. I thought I was going to die from the cold. I was totally, yeah, we just stayed in our hotel room and froze.
So that's what prompted you to roll back, eh, into Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to
Debbie and
because
I.
my 6 months was up.
Well, my wife and I came down from Fort Mac when you were in Calgary for our grandson's birthday, and we had a
Yeah,
snowstorm all the way down the Mac. One fatality on 63. Took 6 hours to get down the highway, and then drop into deep freeze, man. So that's brutal. So your
it was
decision to
cold.
Canada, your yeah, your decision to leave Canada was pretty easy, but making that big decision. So number one, did you know anybody in Costa Rica, or did you just
Yeah,
rough it?
it
Say,
was,
I'm
I mean, well, the first time I came down, it was like everybody should do it as a visit. Find the town you like. I mean, Costa Rica is a big country. There's lots of different types of areas and lots of different types of climates. So the first time I came here, I actually booked one of those 5-star all-inclusive nice resorts, on a beach here in Guanacaste.
yeah.
I stayed there for 2 weeks just to be able to travel and see parts of this province, because this was the province that had the climate that I thought I would like the best. And so I came to Guanacaste, which is on the west coast of Costa Rica, and checked it out for a couple of weeks, and I didn't want to leave. I mean, my first trip to this town here, Coco, was actually with a local who I had met while I was at my resort, and he offered to give me some tours around and drove me to all the different climate areas here in Guanacaste. And we stopped into this little town called Playa de Coco for a late lunch and a little dancing at a nightlife here. And as soon
Yeah.
as I hit the main strip of Coco, I was in love. I mean, this place, just this little itty bitty tiny town, has everything I want in it.
Well, that's kind of cool. So that's
Yeah,
a hard
yeah,
way to
it's
do it,
got
though. But
great nightlife.
where I'm going
Yeah,
with this,
yeah.
Lucinda, is that you had absolutely no support mechanism in Costa Rica when you decided to make this move. Is that correct?
I had no support mechanism anywhere when I decided to make this move. I was completely alone in the world. It
Wow.
was me, and yeah, I had no support system the first time I came down here. I was completely by myself. Whether I stayed in
So
Canada or whether I went, I
so
was.
that must have factored into your decision making process, eh?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, after my late husband passed, I sat in our house for few months, and I get phone calls from the kids or from my parents or from the odd cousin or whatever. They would make a call and how are you doing and how are you holding up and anything we can
Yeah.
do. Everybody always says anything we can do, but most of them don't mean it. And I
Yeah.
realized that everybody I talked to was on. Nobody knocked on my door. Nobody came through the front door. So why am I staying here in Canada?
Fair enough.
You know,
No.
if nobody was knocking on the door. So I was by myself, and I got phone calls, but they can call me in Costa Rica. They could call me in the Philippines. They could call me in Amsterdam. They could call me wherever I landed up. So I did do a little traveling right afterwards. I did hit a few countries, but my heart
Yeah.
knew I wanted to be in Costa Rica. But I did a few different countries up and look into the different options, and yeah, my
So that's for me in my mind, Lucian, that's a pretty big transition to go from Canada, and we just see that what you told us about the temperature here already, where we're minus 30 to plus 30. There's that transition, but like
yep.
I see Canada as kind of like a first world country. Is Costa Rica a first world country, or is it a third world country, or like politically? Well, I guess
Well,
you're pretty sharp because in 2015 you realized where Trudeau was going to take us. You started looking then. Right now, I'm not that smart. I'm kind of
that's right.
stunned,
I
I
knew
guess.
that I knew the moon at the minute he got elected. Yeah.
Well,
So,
yeah.
as far as first world and third world country, I guess technically this would be called a third world country, because of some of the amenities that they don't have. But let's talk about the amenities that they do have. I mean,
Okay.
I have internet here. I have cell phone service here. Um, I, as far as TV goes, I mean, I don't think anybody in Canada ever watches cable anymore. Everybody does downloads. I have access to the same downloads here. You get your VPN. I get all my Canadian channels. I can watch TSN, right? So, um, I don't, I don't feel that it is a third world country while I'm here. Now, as you know, I remarried this August. I'm now married to Louis, and he was a mechanic in Fort McMurray as well. And he came here with me, not having ever seen this place before. He quit his job and sold his house and said, "I love you. I'm marrying you. Let's go." And he
Wow.
followed me. And when we first, yeah, when we first got here, I had to keep asking him if he still felt like this was a third world country. And
Yeah.
excuse me, at first there was a lot of things that were very different for him to adjust to. I think the one he still talks about is the water. Trying to have a shower here
Why?
can be a challenge. Well,
Why?
hot water is not something. The hot water isn't something the locals want or need. It's 32 degrees here. So when
I
you turn
guess.
the water
Yeah.
on to have a shower, you get water. It's not hot water. It's not cold water. It's water, right? So adjusting to the shower temperatures can be a challenge, and I think that's one that
When
still bugs him.
so
Um,
when you came back
yeah,
to Calgary, did you run the shower for 3 days in the hotel room or what?
yeah, yeah. It was really nice to have a high pressure hot water shower. That was
Yeah.
nice. I'll admit it. That is probably one of the hardest things to adjust to here is probably the water temperature and the water reliability. We lose water a lot. There's
So it's
been
not.
probably in the last 2 or 3 months we've lost water supply maybe 5 times. So twice a month the water is gone and you just have to wait for it to come back.
So it's municipal water.
It is municipal. And in the condo where we live, we're on a very big hill. And so we're up at the top of the city, beautiful views. I mean, this place is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But the stairs getting to our condo is also like walking 6 stories. It's a lot of
Wow.
walking, kitchen shape. But that also means the
Wow.
water has to come uphill that much. So we don't have a good water pressure here. But I mean, we
Uh,
haven't. You just got to
yeah.
get used to taking a quicker shower.
Fair enough. Is
So that's
but if you're
that's
at the bottom of the
that's
hill,
the
you
third
should have
world.
pretty. if you're at the bottom of the hill, you should have some pretty good pressure, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
there are different areas of the town and different areas of the province that you can live in where water might not be the same issue it is where I am.
Oh,
But
that's
I
good.
like this condo. I love this area. So, it's worth it to me.
Yeah, I'm not picking apart your choice. I'm trying to learn here, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Ask away. There is in Coco. There's kind of like three distinct neighborhoods. There is the brand new Los Palmas area, which, quite honestly, if you walk through it, you'll feel like you're in California. It's all Americans. It's all expats. Condos are
Yeah.
selling for like $600,000. They're extremely
Wow.
expensive, and yeah, and you look like you're in California. You're on a beach. It's beautiful. The weather's nice, but it is very Americanized in that neighborhood. And I choose not to live there because I don't want to live in that kind of neighborhood. Right? If I
Yeah.
wanted to live in that neighborhood, I would have moved to California. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Fair enough.
and then there's the local area, where all the locals live and they've been living here for a while. And I guess walking through that neighborhood, you would feel like you're in a third world country. But I've been in many of those houses. I know people who live in that area, and I think it's great. I mean, I don't see a problem with that. Kind of where I am. Like I said, it's on the edge of town. It's up high on a hill, and it's kind of a mix of locals and expats. So it's this neighborhood is where the doctors and lawyers who are from Coco live, and then the expats who don't want to live with the expats live.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. There's not
Right?
many expats
So
down there.
there are a lot of expats down here. I mean, English is very easily acceptable here. Very easily acceptable. Most of the locals have to learn English because they work in an industry where most of their customers are expats.
Yeah. So did you have to go through an immigration process to move there, or you're there on what you said a visitor's visa, or what's that like?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm still here on a visitor visa, which means I have to leave every 6 months. Like I'm allowed to come down here when I go through the airport. I, show my passport, tell them the address where I'm staying, and show them that I have a return flight to leave within 6 months, right? And that's how I'm
Okay.
here now. But my lawyer is working on getting me my citizenship here, my residency, so that I can stay here and not have to leave every 6 months, and so that I have access to more municipal services.
So PR or permanent residency status, was that not at one point in time pretty easy to get, or is it very difficult to get now, or what's the drill on
Yes,
that?
it used to be it used to be incredibly easy. When I first did the research back in 2015, you would have had it
Yeah.
within a few months of landing here if you wanted. But as the years go by, I mean, just in the last 3 years, I've watched them change the rules 4 times. So
Oh
it is
wow.
getting more and more challenging. Yeah, yeah, because the locals realize they're starting to get outnumbered with expats, so they're making it harder and harder to be a
Oh, I
resident here.
see.
But they're
Uh
making it easy and easier to be a visitor here,
yeah, yeah. So they like the money and
right?
not the attendance, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
So
They're
you
they're
did
the,
did you bring down a lot of belongings and furniture and stuff, or you just brought a couple bags of clothes and start from scratch,
um
or
um the uh the first time I came here, like 2.5 years ago, I brought down. I mean, I would fly back and forth every 2 months, bringing down 4 or 5 more suitcases with me,
oh
and
really?
I had quite a bit here. Yeah, that's what I was doing. This time round, the airport limited me to 4 suitcases a person. So we're down here with very little, and I still have um, my summer home, my camper in Alberta. So, and that has most of my things you don't need to live, but things you don't want to get rid of, are in
Yeah,
storage at a campground. And
yeah.
the idea is to do the same thing eventually. Little by little, get those suitcases down here too.
So did you buy property down there, or are you leasing property down there, or are you renting property down there?
At the moment, the condo we're in and we're renting. And the only reason we're doing that is we put all of our cash flow into starting the business, because when we looked at our options of becoming residencies, running a business was our best option. That way, if we had bought a house, which we could have done, we wouldn't have any income coming in, right? So we used the cash flow that we had to start a business, and that will give us income, and it also will help us get our residency faster.
Ah, I see. Do it along that way. So like banking and stuff,
So,
like
yeah.
how does that work? Is banking, does that interchange with the Canadian financial system easily, or you've got like a standalone Costa Rica bank with, or
I have a Costa Rica bank,
yeah,
and which obviously we had to do for our business, right? I
yeah,
still have my Canadian bank. Louis still has his Canadian bank. But the plan is to eventually get rid of the things that need to come out of our Canadian bank account and make them all here to our Costa Rican bank account.
So is that going to
But
be
little by
okay,
little, we're thinning those out. But
so it really doesn't interchange, eh? Like the Canadian Costa Rica banking systems, like it doesn't. Does it intertwine? Like if
the banking system, it's a different type of banking system. It's not interchangeable, but you can still use your bank card down here. Your Canadian bank card still works. Your Visa still works. Your MasterCard still works, right? You can still use your Canadian bank account and live here. You don't need to have a Costa Rican bank account. It's just easier if you plan on doing any purchases down here, because most the places here, they don't, well, I guess more the business than the personal. I mean, when I was down here the first 2 years without running the restaurant, I lived solely off my Canadian bank account. I didn't need a Costa Rican bank account. But once I started the business, then you need a Costa Rican bank account.
But the see where I'm going with that, Lucinda, is if I was making money in the U.S. doing
Yep.
public speaking stuff, and I had a U.S. bank account, or would I have to create a Costa Rican bank account? And then after that,
No.
so let's say I sent my money to Costa Rica, would I be able to spend it easily in Canada? Can you use a Costa Rica card in Canada? Have you ever tried that?
I'm pretty sure nobody in Canada would take my Costa Rican currency.
Okay, yeah, probably, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, but the Costa Rican banking system here is very U.S. So my Costa Rican bank card can be used in U.S. dollars.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, down
So,
here, when you're talking money, most of the locals, especially in this town in Coco, maybe not so much inland, but here where I said it's a very big expat community, when you're talking to somebody, bargaining prices, you choose at the start of it, are we discussing colones or are we discussing US dollars? Here in Coco, they don't want to hear Canadian dollars. That don't mean nothing to them. It's garbage.
they don't want to talk about the Canadian peso?
Nope. They have no respect for the Canadian dollar whatsoever.
Yeah.
They will take
Surprise,
US dollars
surprise.
or colones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
surprise, surprise,
Yeah.
surprise, eh? Wow.
Yeah, there could be a guy panhandling on the corner, and I could give him a choice between $100 Canadian bill and a $5 US bill. He will take the $5 US bill.
Oh, every time, eh? Every time.
Yep, every time. They don't want to see Canadian dollars. It's nothing to them. They can't use it.
So culturally, was there a lot of big culture shock in between the two countries for you, or was that a pretty easy transition?
Well, I mean, for me, it wasn't a big transition because, like I said, I've always done a lot of traveling. I've been to a lot of countries, and so
Yeah.
I very easily want to be part of this culture, right? I'm not
Yeah.
doing this to become Canadian in Costa Rica. I'm here because I want to be in Costa Rica. So I think if you approach it that way, like I said, English is very well spoken here, but there are locals who will talk as if they don't understand English, and they'll talk to you in Spanish. And as long as you make some attempt to talk back in Spanish, or at least pull out your Google Translate, you will find out that they will talk to you in English.
Well,
as long
that's
as they're
better
getting
than
an attempt from you.
that's better than Quebec. You travel through there, they just won't talk English to you. That's all you're going to get in that side of Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kudos to Costa
Yeah,
Rica for
no,
that
here,
one.
Yeah, as long as you make an attempt, they will also make the attempt.
So is the crime
Yeah,
out of control in
most of
Costa
the locals
Rica?
here are really nice.
So is the crime out
No,
of
I'll
control
tell
in
you, when
Costa
I was
Rica?
here 3 years ago, you never heard of crime. And the only crime that would happen is if you were an idiot and you left your wallet on the beach on your towel, it was gone.
Yeah.
But if you left your wallet on the beach on the towel, it's another expat who took your money, not a local. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
locals here have a very strict honesty policy. If you left something out in the open, it might get stolen, but chances are it was from another expat here on vacation, not from a local. However, today I have a new opinion on that one because I have had some locals rip me off very, very badly in the last 7 days. And it's been, excuse me, I have a dog trying to escape on the roof. Get back here.
Okay. Deal with it.
Sorry, my dog is on the roof.
Okay, Lucinda, deal with your dog on the roof, and I'll just jump to a little segue here. So next week's episode, this episode is going to air in about 4 days. It'll be the 28th, I think, of 28th, 29th of February, or
Don't you say
29th
now.
this year. Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah, so coming up on Gears of
somebody
Trust,
in there.
our following episode after this will air this coming Friday, which is the 28th of
Yep.
of February. My next episode is going to be with a gentleman from AmericanFun.ca, and they're the guys that posted a billboard down by Bowden, wanting Canada to be the 51st state. So that discussion on that podcast, that's going to be about me advocating for Alberta becoming the 51st state, and they want Canada's 51st state. So this should be a pretty exciting upcoming episode. Also, for those who follow
Will I
along,
be able to get back into Canada?
don't, man, we got 2025 is going to be a year of change in Canada. I'll tell you that. It's going to be pretty wild.
Because if Alberta becomes the 51st state, I might want to go home.
Yeah, it's amazing, eh? It's amazing. Canadian politics is exactly why, it's sad because I've been 50 years in the workforce. I got grandkids, great grandkids here in this country, and why the fuck am I even thinking about leaving Canada? Ottawa.
Yeah,
One word, Ottawa.
Yeah, it's downright scary. But as I was saying before, my dog tried to escape onto the roof. 3 years ago would never have believed that a local would steal. And as many locals as I've met, 99.9% of them are the most honest people you will ever meet. But I think the American culture has become a little too accepted here for the younger generation. And I find that a lot of the businesses here are now run by expats, and therefore they're being less honest and think they can get away with things that they would never have gotten away with before. And those are the things I wish I'd known.
Yeah, we've been talking ahead of this podcast for the listeners, and she's getting screwed over a little bit harder right now on this restaurant, on the startup. Yeah. Startups are so tough in this net. I owned a restaurant in Edmonton for 5 years, and startup was a beast on that thing as well too. It's the beast.
The startup here has been a bigger challenge because I feel like I've had to trust people to translate for me. My Spanish is not perfect. I've got some basics down. I can communicate my essentials, but when it comes to legal contracts and when it comes to making deals with other companies, I've had to rely on people to assist. And I have found out that one of the people that I gave the most trust to really, really, really cost me a lot of money.
Yeah, that's just evil. That's pure evil. I think there's moles within every organization. I don't think that. I don't think that's a sole proprietorship for Costa Rica. Like those people are about us. Many a times they never expose themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of great people here, but I'm, I hate to say this because it hurts me to the core of my bone. But
Yeah.
the other companies here that are being run by Americans and Canadians, and right now I have a very specific Canadian businessman in mind who's really upsetting me. They're the ones that are not trustworthy. Do not do business with a Canadian or an American in Costa Rica because they're out for themselves and taking advantage of every opportunity they can. And I'm a Canadian, I'm here and I run a business, but I'm telling you, they're the ones that have been burning me and hurting me the most.
So they like to exploit, eh?
They're exploiting everyone they can down here, and the Americans taking over down here. It's very frustrating. And like I said,
Wow.
there's one particular businessman who's really pissed me off, and he is a Canadian from Quebec here in Costa Rica.
Ah,
And he has
yeah.
earned himself a nasty reputation as being an evil businessman.
Yeah. Well, he's from Quebec. What do you need more to say?
Careful now, my husband is from Quebec. My new husband Louis is from Quebec. So,
Je suis the Canadian, madame. Like, trust me, right?
it's
I'm from New Brunswick.
yeah,
I'm from New Brunswick, and
yeah,
absolutely, I tell you, yeah.
yeah.
I've had,
So it's
I
there's
didn't,
evil in every culture.
I did not have to go to Costa Rica to find out the niceties of the Quebec culture.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
So yeah, he's down here really not doing well by our country's name as a businessman in this community.
So is that so? Have you ever had a point where you say, "What the hell did I do moving to Costa Rica"? Has that ever crossed your mind, or
I do not I do not regret moving to Costa Rica. I do not at all. I may have been second thoughts about trying to open a restaurant here, but I not about moving here. Not about moving here. And like I said, you asked before in some of the list of questions, what do you wish you knew before, and what do you wish you had a little bit more knowledge up front. I
yeah,
wish I wish I was a little less. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Everybody's good until they prove me they're evil, and that's come to burn me in life a lot, whether in Canada or here. But
yeah,
lately here, it's really it hurts.
yeah? You don't need that. You don't need
No,
that type. Yeah. So that once again makes you more jaded, right?
yeah,
Makes
it
you more
does. You
jaded.
get a little
Yeah.
bit more jaded, and when I told my husband my interview with you today was today, he's like, today, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm in a mood. Give me a bottle of wine, I'll get through it.
for listeners, for listeners, just watch us on YouTube. Show them your wine, Luce, and show them your wine. You gotta,
Oh yeah,
you gotta,
there's my wine. I'm ready.
yeah. She gets, we get halfway through the bottle. I suspect it might be a 5-hour episode, folks. So, I mean, just saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a rough few days, but we'll recoup, and
Okay, so
it's
let's
just.
say you get through this bottle of wine in the next 10 minutes, you fall down the stairs. What's healthcare all about down there?
I'm glad you asked about healthcare because it's actually one of my favorite things about Costa Rica. Now, I told you my late husband passed in 2022, and
Yeah,
everybody always asks me if it
that
was of
transpired. That
COVID.
transpired in Canada, correct?
It did transpire in Canada.
Okay.
He got put on disability and let off of work in 2020. Actually, 3 days before the first COVID shutdown, his doctor put him on disability. So he was on disability all through COVID. And because we were living in Fort McMurray, and I lived there for 25 years, I love Fort McMurray, so don't take this sentence with anything more than a grain of salt, but the hospital sucks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we decided to go to Red Deer during COVID so that we
Okay.
would be halfway between Edmonton and Calgary. And maybe with his health, we would make sure he got the care he needed, that Edmonton and Calgary might be a little bit more easier to treat him during COVID with his illnesses than
Yeah.
Fort McMurray was. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they wouldn't take him in for the surgeries that he needed. He did not die of COVID, but I say he died because of COVID
Because of
because
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, he needed a colonoscopy to save his life. He died of ruptured bowels in his sleep on Valentine's Day of 2022. All he needed was an effing colonoscopy, and he'd still be here today.
Thank you,
But the
Alberta Health
doctor wouldn't do
Services,
it.
guys.
You got it. So Alberta Health Services is not my favorite topic. It's very hurtful for me. Now,
Yeah.
on that same topic, I have a long list of health conditions, very long list. None of them deadly, but all of them a pain in the ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have been waiting since November of 2019 to get an endoscopy to check my Barrett's esophagus because
Yeah.
I have very bad Barrett's esophagus. It makes it hard for me to breathe. It makes it hard for me to sleep. It makes it hard for me to eat. It's not going to kill me yet, but it is very uncomfortable and very painful. And I've been waiting for endoscopy every 6 months, and I haven't had one yet. I'm still on the list in Alberta to get an endoscopy, and I still don't have it. Now,
So
here in Costa Rica, I have a new family doctor. She is a local. She is great. She is amazing. I actually had an infection in my thumb. It was dumb, stupid error, and I got an infection in my thumb. So I asked on Facebook, the Coco groups, the people who live here, can you recommend a doctor? I got to go get an antibiotic, right? Nothing
Yeah.
major, just need an antibiotic. So they all recommended this. She does host calls. She doesn't have an office. She came to my home and she said she was going to write me the prescription, and she wanted to know what other meds I was on to make sure that I didn't conflict with any of the medication I'm on. So I grabbed my big bag of meds because I was currently at that point in time when she came to my home in January, I was on 17 different medications that my doctor
Holy
in Fort
Jesus.
McMurray put me on. 17 different
Wow.
medications. Okay. Now
That's
I
a
have a lot of
pharmaceutical.
health conditions, and it's a lot of pain in the butt. Pharmaceutical nightmare is what it is. But anyway, in September of 2023, I ended up in a coma in Fort McMurray. And nobody could find out what drama in my family with people having their opinions because I ended up in a coma on what would have been the 20th wedding anniversary with my husband that passed. So people accused
Wow.
me of trying to commit suicide, but that was not the case. That's not what I did. But that is what my immediate family accused me of and what they choose to believe.
Yeah.
I didn't know what put me in there. I mean, there's a whole lot of speculation. But my doctor here in Coco went through my 17 medications, and she said to me, right out of her word of mouth, without her knowing about my coma a year before, and said, "Are you trying to put yourself in a coma with this stuff? This med doesn't go with this med, and this med doesn't go with this med. You're going to end up in a coma soon." I said, "Too late. That was a year and a half ago." I was in a coma in Fort McMurray, and the doctors didn't even realize the 17 meds they had me on is what put me in that coma.
That's
My
unbelievable.
doctor here changed up my meds. I am now on 4 medications to treat all of my symptoms, all of my syndromes, everything. I'm on 4 meds.
Wow.
And I feel better medically now by that family doctor coming to my home to treat my thumb infection than I have felt in years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the Coco medical system. I
So
feel better here with that doctor than I did with all of my specialists in Fort McMurray. And as
so
for
can
the
you get
endoscopy that I've been waiting for 6 years,
yeah.
I can have it done here in Coco on a minute's notice. My doctor told me when I'm ready to get my endoscopy done, let her know for $250 US. She will pick me up at my house. She will drive me to the hospital. She will be there through my whole treatment, and she will drive me back.
For $250.
You got.
Jeez,
I can get the treatment. I've been waiting 6 years to get in Alberta. I can get it done here tomorrow if I want for $250.
if you park on the wrong side of the street near the hospital in Fort Mac, that's $120. Like,
Exactly.
fuck.
Exactly.
What's wrong with it? You better.
That's what I'm telling you. I want to be a citizen here because I want the health care that they have here is way better than what's available in Canada.
But you don't have that at disposal as an expat, eh? Grab the dogs. All good. Grab the
As an
dogs.
expat, as an expat, I can use the private healthcare system here, which means
Yeah.
you pay for it as you use it. And
Oh, I see.
the pay for it is the $250. Right? That's the private healthcare. I paid $75 for her to come to my house and write me a prescription. I paid $25 to fill the prescription, and I would pay $250 to go have an endoscopy.
Wow.
That's the private healthcare here available as an expat. You pay out of pocket. But if I become a citizen, I would have all of that at no charge.
Is there not a monthly? I think I saw online you can get monthly health plans too for Costa Rica, though, right? So
Yes,
if I'm a Canadian,
there is.
that's
Yes,
kind of like a
but
blue.
and I do have for most of the last 3 years. I had my private traveling plan that you get through Blue Cross, which
Yeah.
costs a lot of money, a lot of money. But it only covers accidents down here. It won't cover my thumb infection. It won't cover my endoscopy. It won't cover my prescription here. It only cover emergencies here if I break a leg or break an arm or fall down the stairs, right?
So just emergency medical care.
That's right. So if you're here, you can buy emergency medical care, or
Yeah.
you can just pay for the private medical care if you need it.
So what if you need something major? So I'm a heart attack survivor. So let's say I have a recurrence down there. So now they get if I
Yeah.
can jump on my chest, crack my ribs, so I can jack me up my jugs and put a stent in,
Yeah.
whatever they're gonna do to keep me going. Like so
I
what
don't know what
something
the
like
cost
that
of that
runs?
would be, but I don't know what the cost of that would be privately. But I
Yeah,
know if you got your citizenship, you would be covered. But I
yeah.
do know that if you have Blue Cross travel insurance, it wouldn't be covered.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? So
Right.
that being said, let's go to citizenship. You were talking things like digital nomad visas and this type of visa, that type of
Yeah.
visa.
Yeah.
Are,
Yeah.
so are those are just like visas for temporary residence, but they're not visas for becoming a citizen, then, eh?
So, if you want to become a permanent residency here, it is a long process now. It takes first you have to apply for your residency card, which is like temporary. And it takes about a year under different circumstances to get that card. And once you have that card for 12 months and you're a good citizen and you don't break the law, blah, 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 then you get to apply for your permanent residency. So it can take 2 to 3 years to get your residency here, depending on which avenue you choose to do it. And like I said, over the last 3 years, they've changed the rules at least 4 times. They keep changing them. It's not as easy as it was in 2015, and it's not as easy now as it was when I got here in 2022. But
Well,
it's still easier than most countries.
yeah. So immigration lawyers must be just having a field day with us, I suspect, huh?
Oh, oh my God, yeah, immigration lawyers down here, they're cleaning house.
So
They're cleaning house
what
because everybody's got one.
what does that cost to get them engaged?
The lawyer fees here are actually fairly reasonable. I mean, I have a lawyer here that I've been using to help with my residency
Business
paperwork,
and stuff.
as
Yeah.
well as as well as starting up my business. Um, I would say since we arrived here in September till now, and keeping in mind that I've used her for a lot of business things and for employee paperwork, contracts, and leases, a lot of different things I've used her for, and I've probably spent about 4 or 5 thousand US with her over 6 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so that's normal. That's
yeah.
not excessive. That's not
No,
excessive.
it's
I
not
know
excessive.
when I bought a restaurant in Edmonton, man, I'm gonna say I dropped 10 grand in legal fees pretty quick, I think, on that deal. But because it's
Yeah,
a franchise, and then leases, and then
yeah.
this, and then that, and then this, and then everybody has their hand out, right? So everybody's
You got it. Everybody got their hand out.
yeah.
But the
Canada's
lawyers here,
like
I have a good lawyer. She's really nice, and
yeah.
I would recommend them to just about anybody who wants to try and work their way through the process, because, like I said, the rules change a lot,
Yeah.
and they are pretty good. There's a few things after the fact that I wish I had read a little more carefully, but again, my
Okay. Okay.
Spanish
Well,
wasn't good enough.
so explain that stuff to me. So what things would you wish you have done different or?
Well, my lease with my rental location, or for the restaurant, is was a nightmare, and is a nightmare, and continues to be a nightmare. Um, I It's written in Spanish, of course, because we're in Costa Rica and that's their official language.
Yep.
And so that means that I, have to Google translate the important stuff, and have my lawyer tell me the rest. And, Google Translate's not perfect. I'll give you a funny example of Google Translate. So I had to write all the restaurant recipes are my recipes. So I had to translate my recipes into Spanish so that my cooks could read it and, put the food out. And when you use the expression "put cheese on top," when I used Google Translate to translate that, it said "put cheese on your shirt," because top rather than top,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
right? So it said
yeah,
"put cheese on your shirt," and my staff were looking at me like, "What?" Right? Because the word "top" has a couple of different meanings. So you have to be very careful when you use Google Translate, because it doesn't always tell you the really important words.
yeah. The
Right?
ones that make the
So that's a
difference.
funny
Yeah,
example of what happened in my kitchen. It's not
yeah.
so funny what happened in my rental lease.
No, 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 no. I know when I did my restaurant in Edmonton, there was the lease on that was 10 years for the mall, and yeah,
Yeah.
big long term liability, right? Big long term liability.
Yep.
So same type of game down there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a 3-year lease, and I'm only 5 weeks in, and I already having a hard time trying to still be humanly nice to these people, because they're not being nice to me. You know the expression, you get what you give. Well, I've been
Yeah,
given, and what I'm getting ain't the same. So I think it's about time I start giving what they've been giving me.
yeah. Well, that's not a good place to be, though, right?
No, not it's not. It hurts a lot. But
Oh,
I'll find a way to fix it. I
yeah,
just right now it's a rough day.
yeah. The what's called I work with a guy on shovels at Suncor, and what's called he's got a lot of experience with Colombia.
Yeah,
He was with the shovel company and working out of Colombia. I think it was Thief he was working. He managed down there for 3 or 4 years during the peak of their crime season, I guess you could call it. And that's transitioned to a different country too. But I guess I'll throw my specific situation out there. So I've written a book for those following me. It's available on Amazon now. Onward Buttercups. That's about team building. The team building book then is now in the process. I'm building a course off of that book, which 8 subsections of courses. We can buy individual courses, a bundle of courses, whatever. That'll be selling digitally. Uh, Also, on top of that, I'll be doing a speaking tour, and I have another book coming out to follow
yeah,
up to this. That being said, I plan to do everything digital, with the exception of a speaking tour, and I'm talking with a company to 2026. I'm looking to be speaking on stage as keynote speaker in 2026.
nice.
Would it be an advantage to me to be a PR for Costa Rica and then like a digital nomad visa? How would that work within my game
Well,
plan?
at the moment, to be a digital nomad in Costa Rica, you need to show that for the previous 24 months in your
2 years.
bank account, yep, that you have 5,000 a month of secure income, so that you're not because once you become a permanent resident, they don't want you to be a burden on their system, right?
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
So
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And Canada should do the same, for crying out loud. But
yeah,
if you're here and you want to be a permanent resident, you have to prove that you are not going to become a burden on the system and that you have reliable income. The two most common ways for that down here is through investment. Currently, the investment amount is 150,000 US dollars. So if you invest 150,000 US dollars into the community, whether that's by buying a house or starting a business or whatever, that will get your permanent residency started. Or as a digital nomad, having 5,000 a month guaranteed income for the last 2 years, that will get you started. The other one is retirement, which is what most of the expats that are here in that little area that I told you about. If you have an American 15, I think it's 1,500 US a month retirement income, whether that's from your RSPs or from, in the States, they got their 501ks or whatever. If the government is giving you guaranteed income or your retirement plan from a business or whatever, and you can show you have 1,500 US a month guaranteed income as a retiree, that can start your process as well. And then, of course, the other one is marry a local.
Marry a local, eh?
Yeah. Those are the four most common ways to get your residency here.
Yeah. So, yeah. So East Canadians are solely relying on a Canadian pension plan. That's not going to work for your people.
No, I mean, I get a CPP for my late husband, but it ain't even half of what's required to be a retiree here.
Yeah, it's amazing. Eh? Canada, we get screwed so hard, so many ways. It's just pathetic.
Yeah. I mean, even a third world country knows you need more than that to live off of, but in Canada, it's supposed to be enough.
Yeah. Wow, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, a third world country knows you can't live here on less than 1,500 US a month, but Canada pays its senior citizens less than that. They don't even qualify to come to a third world country to live.
What a great international reputation we have as a nation, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So guess where we're at now, Lucinda? We're at the final quick fire round.
Ask me away. I'm ready.
Ask me away. Okay. Best place to live in Costa Rica for an expat?
For me, that place is Playas de Coco.
Playas de Coco, west coast of Costa Rica in the subduction zone, and like you're telling me at the start of the podcast, we have earthquakes on a regular basis. Some you feel, some you don't. Is that correct?
Yes. I've been coming here 3 years. I've been here more than half of the time of the last 3 years. I have felt 2 earthquakes. The first one scared the bejesus out of me. I was laying in bed. It was like 4 a.m, and I watched a crack form in the corner of the concrete wall of my bedroom. Holy mother of God, I was terrified. I near shit the bed. I was terrified. And then in September, when we first got here with my new husband, Louis, we rode for a walk and the road started to shake a little bit. He goes, "Is there a transport truck somewhere?" And I was like, "No, honey, that's an earthquake."
Wow.
Yeah. So, but there was one here about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks, 2 weeks tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday, 2 weeks ago. Anyway, it showed up on our Facebook feed. Apparently it was like a 4.8. I didn't feel a thing. I was working. I was in my office. I was in the apartment, in the office building. I didn't feel a thing. So I don't know if I've gotten accustomed to them or what. But there are days, like I said, with the water supply or the internet, where the internet will suddenly go out. And then 5 or 6 minutes later, it comes back on. And it was because we had an earthquake just offshore. The ring of fire is just right out here in the Pacific waters, right just off the coast here. So we do get a lot of earthquakes. And like I said, as long as I've been here, I've felt 2. I've been aware of, 2 or 3 a day. But you don't really feel most of them. They just knock your internet out for a couple minutes or knock your water supply out for a couple of minutes, and they come back.
Wow. Amazing, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. One Costa Rican food you can't live without. So there's one food down there that you're falling in love with, or what?
Oh, I love the food down here. And there's a good variety of food. Here on the local strip, there's 2 Indian restaurants. There's a Japanese restaurant. There's a sushi restaurant. We've got 3 amazing Italian restaurants here in town. There's the local bars with your burgers and tacos and things like that. A couple of soda shops. And those are the local restaurants that serve like beans and rice, like local food.
But what's your favorite? Lucinda, what's your favorite? There must be one favorite food that you have down there. I guess
As
that wine's
far as
almost gone.
yeah, it is. My favorite local food is probably they call it I can't pronounce this. My Spanish isn't good enough, and it's basically a pizza pocket, but it's spelled
Oh yeah,
ENDO something something.
yeah,
But it's a pizza pocket. It's made with a different kind of dough. It tastes. It looks like a pizza pocket, but it
yeah.
tastes. It tastes. Oh, it's just so hard to explain. It's like it's a spicy, meaty, bready, folded up pizza. It's just really good, and I can't pronounce the word.
There's something to work towards anyway.
Yeah. So and endo something. But I can't pronounce it.
But
Um,
yeah, you just point to the sign and here it comes. Is that what you're telling me or
well, they
what?
bring you the menu. They bring you
Yeah.
the menu, and most of the menus here, if you're in an expat area, are going to be in English on one side and Spanish on the other.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, but the little soda shops, which is their word for local restaurant, they call them a soda shop, and
Yeah.
they have their menu is going to only be in Spanish. They're not going to have any English on their menus, and that's where your best food is going to be. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
you
cool.
grab the
So
menu, you pick out a few keywords, and you go that one.
you let her sit watch people buy and then look at what they're eating, I guess, right? Another way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just trial and error. Now, as for my favorite restaurant in town, I mean, outside of my own, of course, mine is my favorite. But if I had to go to one of the other restaurants here in town on date night, as Louis and I do at least once a week, there's a
Yeah.
little place called Villa Italia. And it's an Italian restaurant, and it's run by a guy who literally moved here from Italy, and the food is
Wow.
amazing. It's so good. You are in Italy. The food's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Extremely expensive for a night out. We only go there one every 3 or 4 date nights, but food is amazing. Amazing.
That's cool. Good food's always important. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many great restaurants here in this town, and just so many great people in this town. But I wish I was a little more pessimistic of certain people when I came here.
More,
That's my biggest take back. Yeah.
yeah, too
I,
trusting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was too trusting of too many people. I made a few bad choices with who to trust.
Yeah.
But but
So
I
with
mean,
that,
like I said, 90% of the people are great.
with that being said, listen, that's probably quite possibly the worst mistake a newbie could make. Is that like what
The worst mistake a
new?
newbie could make is if you
Yeah.
have
What
an
was?
important piece of paper, like buying a condo or buying a piece of land. Um, you need to trust your lawyer, but you need to bring a translator too. Have two people completely unrelated reading that contract to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would do that next time. I would have two people who don't know each other helping me read every important contract. And
So yeah,
there's a lady who lives here in my condo building. Now I rent in this condo. She owns in this
yeah,
condo, and she also owns a condo in another area of the same province, closer to where the volcano is, Lake Ardenal. Also a very
yeah,
beautiful area. I've been there. Um, Her condo in Lake Ardenal became a protected reserve area by the government, and now she can't live in her condo, and she's got lawyers fighting like crazy.
oh,
So
God.
exactly. So for me, I would not buy a condominium here because you don't have any rights. You don't own it.
Yeah,
It's not the
yeah,
same rules as in Canada. I would not
yeah,
buy a condo here. I would only buy a standalone house that is, of course, translated by at least two people, your lawyer and
yeah.
someone else. You hire a translator, and make sure you have all of the proper water lease, electric lease, and that kind of thing for your land. And I would not buy a condo in this country.
Okay, well, that's a good tip. So, is there anything you miss about Canada?
My family. I do. I miss my family. I don't see them enough. But
Yeah.
like I said, when I was living in Red Deer after my husband died, I didn't see them then either. So I could still be sitting in Red Deer and talk to them on the phone or via Facebook, or I could be here and talk to them on the phone via Facebook. And so
Yeah.
I choose to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Sure.
don't think, I mean, there's some shopping things that I miss, a few little things. For those of the people who live on Amazon, Amazon is really expensive to get delivered here. I mean, really expensive. It's going to cost you a lot more than you think it will to get it here. And I'm
Yeah.
still waiting on 2 different parcels that I paid a fortune to have delivered here, and I still don't have them yet. So, and DHL, there's the other one. If you're going to ship anything, use DHL. Don't use Amazon. Don't use anyone else. Ship it DHL. It's the only way you're going to really get it.
Wow. Okay. That's a really good, really good tip.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if you ship anything to Costa Rica, DHL is the way to go. Amazon really
Yeah.
doesn't exist. It's not economically viable, huh?
No, it's not.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. If
Wow.
you had an address in the States, ship it there, pick it up when you fly up, and bring it back in your suitcase.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Right?
Cool.
Yeah,
Wow. I
that's
can see.
that's
I get.
my advice.
Wow. That's pretty cool, Lucinda. Thank you very much, man. So that answered just about most of my questions that I had on Costa Rica.
No problem.
For
My
my list.
pleasure. I do love it here. It's just sometimes a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think anywhere in life is like that. So everything's got its
Exactly.
pros and its cons, right? So
Yep.
these people we
Yep.
have
Yep.
been taken by people in Canada. I'm pretty sure I'll get
Oh
taken the
yes.
next place to live too. So that's just
There you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Good tip of watching out for those Quebec businessmen in Costa Rica though. I watch out for Quebec
Absolutely.
businessmen in Canada, right? All right, so for my listeners, if you're thinking of expat out of Canada, there's one option open to you. Costa Rica. If you want any more information, get a hold of me and I'll touch base with Lucinda. And maybe that'll give you a little bit of an inside line if you want to move that way. Lucinda, thank you so much.
No
Let's
problem.
go. Upcoming episodes for my followers. What's called big one coming up here with the talk about 51st state or for the country or 51st state for the province, right? So that's going to be a political hot potato. I promise you that. Guest that I'm looking to get onto the show coming up. I've talked to the gentleman already who got his wiener frozen to the ice outside of EVP in Eagle Ridge and made it to TMZ. Yeah, yeah, that's a funny story. He's not going to give me anything until he's all done with the charges from that night of partying. But live and learn. What's called my book's now available through Amazon, Kindle. I don't have an Audible version yet. So that's Onward Buttercups. Watch for that come true. Next phase will be the courses on that. And followers, I've got 1,400 on YouTube now, 2,300 TikTok, and we're talking in the thousands now. Moving on Instagram. So thank you for the support. Only started in November. So yeah, it's been a rather quick, accelerated growth that I didn't really expect. Once again, thank you very much. Lucinda, don't go away. We're going to download this once we hang up the recording here, and we'll have some more chit chat. Thanks again for tuning in for Gears of Trust. Once again, my name is Maynard Hebert, right? So if you know of anybody that's got a unique story or would like to be on the podcast, reach out to me on Facebook. I'm really easy to get a hold of. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you probably next week. Bye-bye.